Christians, I have a question for you. So, Yeshua told you to go look what Moses prophesied of him. That way you would believe what he told you. And in Deuteronomy 18, verse 15 through 19, it says that Yahovah is going to raise up a prophet from amongst them. He's going to teach what was desired at Horeb, the 10 Commandments. And whoever doesn't listen to that prophet, which he was going to send in his name, Yahovah's name, and Yahovah's going to put his words in that prophet's mouth. So it's really what Yahovah's commanding. Whoever doesn't listen to that prophet and what he commands, he's going to require it of them. Going to require you to keep the 10 Commandments. And in Acts chapter 3, verse 18 through 22, or 23, verse 18 through 23, it says, therefore be converted so your sins can be blotted out in the times of refreshing of the 10 Commandments. And it proceeds to quote Deuteronomy 18, what Moses prophesied of the Messiah. And it says, whoever does not listen to that prophet, which he will send, and what he commands, he's going to destroy. So he's not only going to he's not even going to require you to keep the commandments, but he's going to destroy those who don't keep the commandments. And in Malachi chapter 4, talks about end time prophecy. And it says in verse 4, to remember you the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. What was given at Horeb, the 10 Commandments. In Deuteronomy 4 it says, do not add, do not take away. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, he made a covenant with them at Horeb. Lists the 10 Commandments in verse 22. He said he added no more. So Yahovah told you exactly what he's going to judge you on, and your punishment if you don't keep his covenants. He's also telling you in Malachi, the prophecy of end times, to remember to keep the covenant at Horeb, the 10 Commandments. And in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 30, it says, if you find yourself in tribulation in the latter days, which we're in now, we're in the latter days, tribulation hasn't occurred yet, turn back to my voice. What was given with his voice at Horeb? The 10 Commandments. So if you're not under the commandments, like you say you aren't, you're under grace, then why in tribulation is he going to require you to keep them? And those that don't keep them, he's going to destroy. Why did he say that he's going to send his son to refresh the Holy Covenant if you don't have to keep them? Our Bibles warn us that there's going to be men, ungodly men, that will creep in unaware, turning the grace of God into lasciviousness. What is lasciviousness? I think it's G677 or something like that. It's shamelessness. That's your favor. You can sin and not be you can be shameless while you sin because you have favor. The Bible already tells you that there's going to be men that do this, that is going to turn his grace into favor. Shamelessness. These are your Jeremiah 23 pastors that tell you, we're all sinners, we all fall short, and we can't keep the commandments because we're imperfect. But you're forgiven anyways. Because they've turned the grace of God into shamelessness, that you can sin despite onto his grace, which is divine influence on the heart. If you look it up in the Strongs, it means especially divine influence on the heart. In one word, it means conviction. It's your conscience. The Bible tells you you can sear your conscience with a hot iron. It says, do not, in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 29, do not tread underfoot the Son of Man, and count the covenant which he was sanctified in. That covenant at Horeb, the 10 Commandments, an unholy thing, and sin despite unto the Spirit of grace, his conviction. Like, you guys don't believe anything that the Bible tells you. You do the polar opposite. In Malachi 3, I think it's Malachi 3, it tells you that Yahovah doesn't change. But you think he does. You think he's changed everything. You think that he's made all food clean. You think that you can sin and still be forgiven because you've turned the grace of God into lasciviousness, shamelessness. That you all fall short and you sin. And you're not under the covenants that his son was sanctified in. You group it in with the sacrificial law, which was completely different. For the covenant was made before Mount Sinai. Yahovah spoke with him with his voice to all the elders of the Israelites at the rock of Horeb. He gave them the 10 Commandments. They agreed to keep them. They feared him. They didn't want to hear his voice anymore, or they die not. They asked Moses to be their mediator. So Moses went up on Mount Sinai to receive the 2 stone tables with the 10 Commandments on it, the covenant that they just verbally agreed to at the rock of Horeb. And then while he was up there, they grew impatient and made a calf. So then they were given the handwritten ordinances, the sacrificial law, the 600 and some laws, Deuteronomy 31, as a witness against them until it was finished. Until in Galatians 3:19, the seed should come which the promise was made. What was prophesied in Deuteronomy 18 and Acts 3. That Yahovah would send a capital P prophet, his son. He would put his words in his mouth, and he would refresh the Holy Covenant, the original agreements at Rock Horeb, the 10 Commandments. And in the end, when he comes to judge everyone and come back with fire, when you are in tribulation in the latter days, he tells you to remember the covenant that was made at Horeb in Malachi 4. Deuteronomy 4, chapter 4, verse 30. What he gave with his voice. So if he's going to require you to keep the 10 Commandments, and then he'll have mercy on you in tribulation, why do you think he's only going to require you to do it then? Why do you deny what was prophecy of the Messiah? That Yeshua told you to go look and see, so you believe what he tells you. Because he gave you 2 commandments, refreshing the holy covenants in Matthew 22. He gave you the first and great commandment to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, which is the first commandment with promise in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 3. Yahovah's 5th commandment to honor your father and your mother. He quoted Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5 through 25. To keep the 10 commandments, write them on your heart. Teach your children. And the promise is that you'll live long in the land, and it will be your righteousness. He told you, I desire mercy over sacrifice. Deuteronomy 4:30. Turn back to my voice. If you find yourself in tribulation, keep the 10 commandments, and he'll have mercy on you. Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 10. Having mercy on thousands of them who love me and keep my commandments. So answer me that question.